Hello, everyone. I am so excited that you're joining us this evening for a housing and dining webinar. My name is Amanda Moss. I use she, her pronouns, and we are going to get started here in just a moment. We're going to let some of our friends have time to come in. While we are doing that, just a few housekeeping things. Today, we're actually going to be going over housing next steps. We're going to talk about preferences and roommate matching, as well as some great information about culinary options and move-in information. Because we have such an extensive topic list today, we are asking potentially to hold your questions until the end. We do have that question and answer feature available for you to submit questions, and we'll go over some of those at the end, hoping to cover most of the information you need prior to that. With that, if you have any hyper-specific questions regarding your specific college, your specific situation, billing, anything like that, contract issues or errors on the website, anything like that, that's not something that we would be able to take time to talk through today, but our Live On offices are going to open at 8 a.m. tomorrow, and they would love phone calls, email messages, any of that kind of stuff to get your questions answered. They are there to help. That being said, before we get kicked off here, I do want to let you know that this presentation is being recorded and it will be available on the Live On YouTube channel at some point next week. So you can have that as a reference. With that, if there isn't anything with that, if you have a question and you don't want to wait till the recording is posted, you are more than encouraged to go to our Live On website, where all of this information can be easily found and connected to. So that's enough from me and a welcome. I am going to kick this over to our good friend Bethany to go ahead and get us started with housing next steps.
Thanks, Amanda. Hello, everyone. It's exciting to have so many of you joining us tonight. My name is Bethany Balks. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Associate Director for Communications in Residence Education and Housing Services, so work with the Live On team. And I am happy to talk to you about the next steps in the housing process. So to kick things off, as we're preparing for housing preferences, some high-level information to understand is that incoming students will not select their own specific room. Students will submit housing and roommate preferences, and then we will assign rooms through our housing assignments office. There are a lot of preferences that are available to students to review and take under as they're considering what they're most interested in as far as housing. But we do want to be clear that while we have a space for all of our incoming students, that we cannot guarantee that all preferences will be honored, including bathroom type, but we will do our best within the available space to focus on roommates remaining together and focus on some of those living, learning community and special interest communities as well. So more to come on that. So hopefully you've seen this before, some of our next steps. So right now we are in the contract and fee step. So right now, incoming students need to, once they've paid the acceptance fee with the Office of Admissions, once they've activated their MSU Net ID, they have access to the My Housing account at the Live On website at liveon.msu.edu. So once you have that access, you'll go into My Housing, you'll make sure to pay that one-time non-refundable housing application fee. You only pay that once during your time at MSU, and then you complete your advance payment, which goes towards your fall bill, and you sign your housing contract. This step is due May 9th, so please make sure you do that so that you can fully participate in the housing preference process. For our students that are under 18, as of right now, your parent or guardian must also sign the contract. You can add their email right into the housing system. And if you have any issues with that, please don't hesitate to contact the Housing Assignments Office. From here in mid-May, so very soon, next week, students will be able to start sharing their housing preferences, including preferred bathroom types, preferred roommates, and then dining plan selection. You cannot request a specific neighborhood or hall, but we will take those other preferences under consideration. That step will be open until June 13th. I don't want to forget to say that either. And then after everything closes June 13th, our Housing Assignments Office gets nice and busy and they work on assigning all of our students their space within the submitted preferences. So that will take place through June into July, and we anticipate that we'll be able to share our room and roommate assignments in mid-July. So something that's really helpful for our students and their support systems to understand is how we do the housing preference hierarchy. It is not first come, first served. There is not any rush to complete the preferences. If you do it by the June 13th deadline, you are good. We don't take it in order of submission, so don't feel any pressure to complete preferences sooner than you need to. We want to make sure you're fully prepared. But how the system works and how the housing assignments office works is they follow this hierarchy. So we have some special community preferences that come first. This includes our gender inclusive housing, our substance-free housing, and our dietary housing. So these are prioritized above all other preferences. These are very specific housing options that we know students are interested in. And so if one person selects these in a roommate group and another does not, the group will be split. Dietary housing puts students near our Thrive Dining Hall. And then substance free is in a specific area. I'll get into more details here in a couple slides, but that's our first hierarchy. And then the next one is our living learning communities. So you may be in a residential college or a living learning community or a special interest program, and we'll have that list later in this presentation. All students in any kind of living learning community, special interest community, do require that students have roommates from that same living learning community or special interest program. So if you're trying to select a roommate outside of that program, outside of that living learning community, that roommate request will be disregarded and you'll be placed in your living learning community with a roommate at random. So it's really important that you're looking at that. And luckily, when I talk about roommate matching, we do have some new technology that's going to better help students find roommates specifically in their same community. After that, then we look at the roommate and suite choices. We want to make sure that as long as you're fitting into the rules, we'll be able to accommodate those. We really strive to make sure we keep roommates together as much as possible. And then we look at bathroom style preferences. We're not able to get everybody the exact bathroom preference they want, but we get that corrected at a pretty high rate. So some of the preferences that you'll see next week when it opens is the special community preferences like the substance-free floors, honors floors, gender inclusive housing, and dietary housing. You'll preference the bathroom style and you'll preference your dining plan selection. So roommate matching system. If you know somebody that's went to MSU in recent years and you've heard them talk about My College Roomie, that is no longer what we are using. We're fortunate to be now into the StarRez housing system. And so my housing is now under StarRez, and they have some really great roommate matching features that we're looking forward to having our incoming students work with. So all housing preferences and all roommate matching will take place in my housing. So roommate matching helps pair students with compatible roommates based on their preferences and lifestyle habits. Every student, whether you already know the roommate you want to come in with or not, is required to answer roommate matching questions, just in case we need those. Hopefully we don't if you have a specific roommate. We want to make sure everybody has that in, so it helps guide our process. And then when you're picking roommates, you have 4 options. So like I said, if you know the specific person, you'll be able to enter their name and email, and then you'll be able to specifically request to live together. You will, there is a checks and balance system where one student will put in the request and then the other student will get a message to confirm that. So students will be able to mutually say, I want to live with this person. Yes, I want to live with this person. Another option is for students to search for potential roommates based on one or more of their answered questions. And this is where you'll be able to do that roommate matching where you can see profiles and send messages. You can also view matches based on all responses. So basically you get to prioritize if there's like 2 questions that are most important to you and you only want to filter based on those, you can do that. Or you can see based on all your responses, what percentage of someone matches to you. Do you all match 100%? You'll see some matches that might be 60%, etc. And then students can also choose to have a roommate randomly assigned by the system. So if you don't want to spend the time messaging, as long as you've answered those roommate matching questions, the system will assign you as best as it can. This is a little sneak peek of what that roommate matching system looks like. It might look a little different by the time we go live, but essentially we'll have this. So it will, if you're looking for suggested roommates based on all questions or a few of the questions, it will show your percentage match. It will show that you can send messages, you can look at the profiles, or you can send that roommate request and have things paired together. But this is different than My College Roomie. In My College Roomie, people were in one system, in the My College Roomie system, to find roommates, and then they had to come into My Housing to do the request. This allows you to do everything in one system and not have to pop back and forth. And then let's go over some of these other special community preferences. And in the preference process, they will be called that. So you'll have a page that will say special community preferences. and you will be able to select one of these, or you'll be able to say that you don't need any special community preferences. So one of these is gender inclusive housing. And what it is it's designed to let students of any gender identity live together. It is available in both our suite and community style halls, which our friend Amanda is going to talk about a little bit more in a moment. But that is one of the community preferences that students can utilize. And then there's substance-free housing, where residents agree and commit to not bringing in drugs or alcohol into the space, even if they are 21 or older. We are a drug-free campus, and most of our residents are underage, but this community does offer additional support for students who want to live that truly substance-free lifestyle. And it's in Abbott and Mason Halls, which is near our collegiate recovery community. You do not have to be in the collegiate recovery community to live in a substance-free hall, but it is available for those resources if students choose to use them. And then we have our dietary housing. So this allows students with food allergies to live near our Major 9 allergen-free dining hall Thrive. And our friend Cheryl is going to talk about this shortly. But this is an option for students to select. It allows you to be a little bit closer and ensure that it's easier to get to. And it's just trying to make sure I didn't miss any notes here. But it is one of our housing options, and that will be there. And then honors housing. So for our honors college residents, students have the choice to opt into an honors designated space in campus housing or not. So as an incoming honors student, there are multiple honors housing locations across campus. So we do know Campbell Hall is coming online this year. We also have honors floors throughout campus. There is not going to be any kind of preference system available for how spaces get designated for who goes into which space. If you are in a living learning community like Lyman Briggs, or engineering, RISE, James Madison, the residential business community, you will be placed in your living learning community, and you can request to be on an honors floor there. If you are not in one of those living learning communities that has an honors floor, you request honors housing, you could be placed in Campbell Hall, you could be placed in another honors hall floor across campus. So we just want to be clear that there is finite space for honors students. We have honors space, but it's not all in one location. It's not all in Campbell. It's not all in Case Hall, for example, but it is throughout campus, and all honors students will have access to the same resources as an honors college student. And then you've heard me talk several times about living learning communities. We really appreciate how many living learning communities we have on campus. If you, hopefully maybe you were able to join us for the living learning community webinar we did earlier this year. It is available on our Live On YouTube channel if you want to check that out and see the many living learning communities we do have on campus. Around 50% of students are in living learning communities, and then 50% of students are not. But if you are in a living learning community, whether it's one that you applied to or one that is automatically a part of your college or major, you will be assigned to the living learning location with that program. During the assignments process, that will take precedence, and you will need to have a roommate in that specific LLC. So this has a little more detail. This is also available on our website if you want to spend a little more time on it, but these are the many of the more academic-based living learning communities, and you can see where those housing locations are. Some of them are in suite style halls where they do allow you to select suite mates. Some are in community style halls, or they don't have the space to let you request specific suite mates, but you can request roommates still. And then most of these are not where you can have an opt-out. Core, because all engineering majors are in core engineering, you can opt out of that. Just please note, with core being in South Neighborhood, if you opt out of core, it's very unlikely that you'll be placed into South Neighborhood. So we'd say if you want to be near those resources of core, stay in core. And then, like I said, honors college is an opt-in, and then music allows you to opt out. But all others you are part of that program. It's going to have the great resources for you, and then you will want to make sure that you have a roommate in excuse me, that same living learning community. Something I didn't mention with the roommate matching that's really cool about our new system is the system will know which living learning community you are in. Those lists were submitted by the living learning communities, so you're only going to see roommates that are in your same living learning community. And then in addition to the academic-based living learning communities, we do have these special interest communities. So there's CAMP, ROTC, Detroit MAID. These communities typically provide us lists of the students who have applied to be in their community, and then our housing assignments office places them. You can request roommates specifically from that same community, but most of them do not allow you to select suites. And you may have seen the acronym TREX, our Transgender Residential Experience. This is one of our fairly newer special interest communities. We did want to be able to, with our Gender and Sexuality Campus Center, be able to provide a community that centers experience, needs, and perspectives of our transgender and gender nonconforming students. And so this is an available option, and this is part of the special interest communities that you can request to live in your My Housing account. So I've shared a lot of information on preferences. I'm going to take a pause and let Amanda come in and share some additional information on preferences that you're going to begin to see next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Bethany. All of those communities offer such great opportunities and support. They are fantastic to look into if you haven't already. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about general housing. So as a reminder, you do not preference your hall, and first-year students do not choose where they live on campus. That's something that we actually go through and assign based off those preferences that you give us. I do want to let you know, though, one thing you can preference is bathroom style, and that's really the main difference between most of our student rooms on campus anyways. So first up, we have what's considered community style, and that's when residents are split into living wing, and each living wing shares one massive community bathroom with multiple sink, shower stalls, and all of that. What's great about that is that's kind of your quintessential Hollywood college experience where you grab the pair of flip-flops and a shower caddy and walk down the hall. And we actually maintain those spaces for you, which is really nice. So it's a low maintenance option for students that are interested in that style of living. For the next option preference that we have, it is suite style, and that's a little bit different. That's where students are separated into living wings, and each room is kind of set up like a Jack and Jill. So 4 students are split into 2 rooms, and they share a conjoining bathroom, like a Jack and Jill style. Students themselves are responsible for maintenance and cleaning and things like that. That is something that they will want to work out with their suite mates. And we provide garbage bags and toilet paper to those spaces. And then additionally, there's another suite style option that we have that's available in Acres Hall only, and that is our quad style rooms. Those are student rooms that are built for 4 students. They have 4 students in them, and that room is actually subdivided. So your sleep study and friendship time are all separate, and you can kind of see that on the diagram on the screen. Also, if you're anything like I was as a student and plan on bringing every article of clothing that you own, 1, don't do that. Please don't do that. 2, but if you choose to, all the closets and Acres are located along that far wall there. All right, so moving on to our next topic for this evening, I'm going to hand it over to the lovely Cheryl Berry so you can hear about some of our wonderful dining options. Cheryl?
Thank you, Amanda. Hello, everyone. I am Cheryl Berry, and I'm the Associate Director of Marketing and Communications for Culinary Services. So when you do select your preferences, you're going to have the choice between 3 different dining plans. They're basically all the same. There's just 2 different variations. So the silver plan is the base plan. And with that, you get access to all the dining options. There's nothing that you're restricted from. But if you get gold, then you get some Spartan cash and you get guest passes. So those are the differences. Platinum, then you bump up to $300 in Spartan cash and 8 guest passes. So the benefit is if you think you're going to join your student for a meal here or there, or maybe a sibling is coming, those guest passes are really nice to have. And Spartan cash is put right on the ID. So students can use that as just like they would a debit card. So what's really nice about the Spartan Cash is that this next fall, we're doing something a little bit new. And those who use Spartan Cash on campus at retail locations will get a 15% discount when they pay. So it's a nice incentive to add some Spartan Cash to your ID. Next slide. All right, so Edith State offers a every kind of option that you can imagine for our menus. We have got something for everyone. So whether you're looking for comfort food, you're looking for something, maybe an international fare, something vegan or vegetarian. You've got special dietary restrictions that you need assistance with. We can help you with that. All of our dining halls are going to carry a very wide array of different menu options. And so our website lists those daily. So you can always go there, check out the menu, find out what sounds good, where you want to eat. Across campus, you're going to find every dining hall has a different menu every day. So maybe the dining hall that you're living in doesn't have anything that sounds really good to you that day. You can go to another dining hall and eat there. So lots of options. I don't think you'll get bored. All right, so dining options that are included. We've got all you care to eat dining halls. We do have 7 of those. So spread out across campus. So there's one in every neighborhood, plus more. We do have grab and go locations as well. And what this means is that these locations offer hot and cold packaged items that are chef made. So those are at our Sparty's Market locations, as well as some of the regular Sparty stores. And then we do have some third-party vendors that also are considered our grab and go. So lots of options for that as well. If you want something hot that's pre-made, you can go pick it up and be on your way. Also, we've got combo exchange, which I'll get into in a little bit. And then we do offer mobile ordering. And this year we are making a switch with our mobile ordering. Our current app will go away and we will be utilizing Grubhub. So I think most students would be familiar with Grubhub, and all they'll have to do is find Michigan State within the app. All right, combo exchange. This is always a little bit confusing at the start of the year for new students, but it's really very, very simple. Combo exchange is a meal replacement that students can get at our retail locations, our partners that are on campus, Starbucks, Panera. So lots of places have the combo exchange offering. And it's a little different everywhere, but the ones that Culinary Services oversees, you'll notice an A, B, and C. And we try to clearly mark everything that's in the stores. So your A is your drink, B is an entree, C is a side. So there's many, many options to choose from. And you get 12 combo exchanges per week. They reset every Sunday night. So this is a great way if you just don't have time to sit down for a meal, or you know you're going to want a little snack later on in the evening. You can grab those, take them back to your room, and it just gives you that extra little something to have. We do also have executive chefs that oversee every neighborhood, and these are trained chefs, award-winning, and they each have their own unique flair. So we've got one of our chefs, Chef Dien, she's from Vietnam. We have Chef Cruz, who's Hispanic heritage. Every chef brings a little bit of their heritage into the menus that they prepare. So that's a lot of the reason why no matter where you go, what dining hall, it's going to be a little unique. They craft their own menus. They work really hard, and the food is absolutely fantastic, restaurant quality. So it's very, very good. Also, we've got our dietitian, Kelsey, and she supports our chefs. She works with them to set the menus, to bring in new products. She works individually with students to ensure that they can get their needs met, especially if they have special dietary concerns. So if you fall into that category, be sure to connect with Kelsey and she can assist you. And then finally, I know Bethany mentioned Thrive a little bit earlier, and Thrive is our dedicated dining hall that is free from the top 9 major allergens. They do a fantastic job of keeping that dining hall safe and free of those allergens. So if you have any concerns around that, please check out Thrive. But in addition, all of our dining halls and all of our retail locations do have options that are allergen free. So any assistance you might need, check with a chef or a manager. And with that, I will turn it back over to Bethany.
Oh, it's me.
Amanda.
It's me.
Sorry.
Yes, you're all right. No, thank you so much for that great information, Cheryl. That's actually a great segue because I'm going to talk about another preference slash support that might actually impact your housing options as well. So with us on campus, we have an office called RCPD, and that stands for Resource Center for Persons with Disabilities. And they do a great job of working with our students that may have incoming students that may have a disability that limits a major life activity. They also work with students on an academic side as well, so they're not just for housing accommodations. But essentially, you would work with that office, and Bethany, you can change the slide. You can work with that office to talk about preferences, accommodations, things like that, the ways that we can support you in your living experience on campus, and kind of what their office does. It is very important to note that if you are planning on working with RCPD, it's very important that you get in contact with them and submit all your documentation and requests before July 1st. So before you hit that summer holiday long weekend, you really want to make sure that your accommodations requests are completed and your documentation is in, so that way we can get that information and have your space prepared for you when you move in the fall. So please, again, July 1st is going to be a really important day to work with that office and get your items in. Another thing that I do want to mention as we get closer to fall is transitional housing. So transitional housing, many of you may be familiar with it. It's a temporary arrangement where rooms are changed to accommodate an extra student. Then as we figure out who actually came to campus, if there are any cancellations, if people did education abroad instead of moving in and they didn't tell us, right? Then we actually go through and move students out of transitional housing into their permanent housing as quickly as possible. It is important to note transitional housing may be used this year if on-campus housing exceeds capacity, but all of that information will be continually updated throughout the summer and shared. So just watch the Live On email as well as the social things, anything like that, where you get your housing information, and we'll keep you posted about transitional housing expectations and impacts. So talking about actual move-in, we have a very exciting August plan for ourselves here. International students are going to move in first and have their welcome events. Then all of our incoming students, predominantly first years, are going to move in on August 19th and 20th. And those are going to be important dates because required new student orientation and all the really fun fall welcome activities, they actually start on the evening of the 20th. So it's important to be here so you get all the information to kind of help you start your year off right, not to mention all the free t-shirts that they pass out during that first week. So definitely be here for that orientation and take part in those activities. And then we wrap up move-in week that week with our returning students moving in on the 20th and 21st. So I noticed in the Q&A, a lot of you are asking questions about move-in and how that works, and we are happy to answer them as we get closer to the date and we can talk through the process. It's actually kind of wonderful because in mid-July, students are going to get an email where they can actually select their specific move-in date and time. And that'll be really helpful so that way we can kind of population control for floors and green carts and elevator lines and all of that kind of stuff. So that way you can let us know your travel plans and we can do our best to accommodate you at that time. So If you are looking for more information, such as move-in information or when certain systems go live and things like that, we are planning on staying in touch with you all summer. So helpful information if you need information in a pinch is going to our websites, Live On and Eat at State. They have all the information that we're discussing here with you. I would also recommend following us on social at Live On, at MSU Live On, and at Eat It State. Not for likes or clout or anything like that, but they post timely updates for things that are important. It's also one thing for Cheryl to tell you how great the food is, but Eat It State posts pictures of what they're actually serving. And MSU Live On will connect you with current students, their stories on campus, as well as show you 100 different ways to use decorations when you're preparing for your space. And with that, we do want you to check your MSU mail daily. That's something that I believe the Office of Admissions also pushes a lot. So do us a favor, make sure you check that email. It's also important to know if you have forwarding set up that not all of the emails that go to your MSU email account are actually able to be forwarded to the other account. So you really want to make that switch to that MSU email for all things pertaining to housing and dining and academics and things like that. We are planning on sending out physical mailers to your homes this summer, and we are planning on having a handful of other webinars throughout the summer. So if you follow us on social, we'll post those there. If you pay attention to your MSU email, they'll be listed there, and they'll definitely be posted on our Live On website for more information. So keep an eye out, fill up your calendars, and we'll be happy to give you more information as we get closer to move-in. So that being said, it looks like we have a little bit of time, and I have a couple of really great questions that came in the Q&A that I think we should probably go over as a team that can be helpful. So Bethany, I'm actually going to round back to you first. So question, if I don't sign my housing contract until May 9th, are my preferences going to be considered last, or will I be at any sort of a disadvantage?
Love this question because no, you are not at a disadvantage. Everybody that has their housing contract or their fees and housing contract completed by May 9th will be fully eligible to go through the preference process. So if whether you do it at 10 p.m. on May 9th or you did it yesterday, you are all still good. So no disadvantage. Just please make sure you do complete those by May 9th.
Fantastic. And I heard you mention in your answer fees. Would you be able to go over what the fees are and when they're due and kind of what they cover?
Yeah. We all have this in that step by May 9th. So there's a couple things. So there's the one-time non-refundable housing application fee that is $50. And so that gets everybody access to the system and it keeps access for your entire time at MSU. So for our students that may be requesting a housing exception, maybe you're local and you're going to be living near campus with a family member, you do still need to pay this one-time housing application fee. But that is for your entire time at MSU. So if you later decide you do want to move on campus, you've paid that fee. You never have to pay it again. And then the second fee is our $175 housing advance payment. So that goes towards your fall bill. So it's not an additional cost. It's just a little bit of a payment ahead of time. It shows your commitment to coming to MSU. We're really trying to use things like this to help us with things like transitional housing. We want to know who is serious about coming to MSU. We want to prioritize making sure you have housing and that we have accurate numbers as best as possible. So those are the two. There's the $50 application fee, the $175 advance payment, and then there's the housing contract that needs to be signed. So those are the three things that need to be done by May 9th.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that. I'm going to pop over to Cheryl here for a second. I have a bit of a two-part question for you. Can you go over the differences in meal plans? And are there any differences outside of the Spartan Cash and guest passes?
Right, so there are the 3 levels, silver, gold, and platinum. So with silver, you get everything. It's a basic plan, but it includes everything. So it's all access to the dining halls, it's the grab and go, it's the mobile order, it's the combo exchange, everything is included. The only thing that you don't get is any Spartan Cash on your ID or any guest passes. That being said, you can always add Spartan Cash onto your ID at any time. So anytime throughout your undergrad year or master's program or whatever, as long as you have an ID, you can add Spartan Cash onto it. which is great because Spartan Cash is not only good for on campus, but it's good for several off campus locations as well. And then those guest passes, if you don't bump up to the gold or platinum and you decide you're going to visit your student and you want to eat a meal with them, we do have a door rate that you just pay at the door. So that is truly the only difference.
That's fantastic information. I know I use Spartan Cash a lot as a student, and as an out-of-state student, my grandmother, instead of she was of that age where you put the $5 bill in the birthday card and you mail it, right? I actually taught her about Spartan Cash, and she would actually call the office and put Spartan Cash on their account. She would talk to them for like 2.5 hours, and then by the time she got to me, I had $5 in my Spartan Cash account, and she only had about 45 minutes left in her. So it was actually really economical for our relationship at the time. It was great.
Spartan Cash is great. It's just great to have, just something on your ID that you know that you're not going to be without funds if you need them. So,
Yeah.
and you're right, Amanda. I mean, we have so many parents that do it as gifts.
Mhm.
So it's a great
Yeah.
little Christmas gift, or,
Mhm.
however you want to gift that.
Absolutely. It can be used to pay things at the door, at the bookstore. There's a whole bunch of off-campus locations that use it as well. So fantastic with that one. That being said, in the same vein of talking about dining plan options and things, can you go over how many combo exchange swipes each dining plan will offer a week, and when do they reset?
So each plan gives you 12 per week. So those can be used anywhere that combo exchange is accepted. And it runs from Sunday to Sunday. So it resets every Sunday night at midnight, and then you get 12 more for the following week.
Okay. And that's the same across every plan, not
Every
a
plan.
gold plan doesn't get more, platinum plan doesn't get more, everybody gets 12.
Correct.
Okay. And I heard that you can use combo exchanges in some on-campus restaurants. Is it true that I can get Starbucks 12 times a week as part of my meal plan?
It is true. Yep. We have many students that stand in the line and get their Starbucks. Yep.
Mhm.
It is very popular.
Yes, I've also known a student to use all 12 combo exchanges on Panda Express at one time. I would not recommend that. That's way too much sodium for one person, but it's kind of cool to know that you can. That's
Yes.
fantastic. All right, thank you for that. I'm going to pop back over to Bethany really quickly. It looks like there's some confusion about the roommate matching software. Can you talk about the My Housing account and kind of what is going to be in that space, and what the students can access there?
Yeah, I think I got a little technical on the back end names of things. So ignore me. What you really need to know is you go to the Live On website, go to My Housing, and all the things are there. So your housing preferences and your roommate matching is all in that system. So you'll do all your roommate matching right in My Housing. You'll be able to go search multiple ways, chat with people, all the fun stuff. So don't worry about any of the names I mentioned. Just focus on being able to go in there and doing your roommate matching and your roommate selection right in My Housing.
Is this the same My Housing that I signed my contract and paid my fees in?
It is, yes.
So we've already been there. Okay.
You've already been there. Yes. Good
Awesome.
clarification too.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. With talking about preferences and whatnot, I do have a couple of questions about roommates and being assigned. Can roommates be assigned by the same major, or is that an option in the roommate matching system? Can roommates of different majors live together? Can you kind of talk about that for a second?
Yeah, it is a little bit of an it depends. So when we talked about that list of living learning communities, if you have applied and you've been accepted to those, or if you're in one that's automatically given to your major, you will be searching for roommates and selecting roommates in your same living learning community. But there are many, like I said, about 50% of students are not in a living learning community, and they can choose to search for roommates that are in the same major, or they can choose to search for roommates in different majors.
Okay, that's fantastic. And then, I'm sorry, majors and living learning communities and residential colleges, kind of getting mixed up with the conversation that we were having. So students of different majors can live together and request each other as long as they're both a part of the same living learning community, or neither of them have a housing.
Yep, they don't have a
Requirement.
like a living learning community roommate requirement. Yep.
Okay. And remind me, is the new housing system smart enough to pair you with students that have similar housing requirements as you?
Yeah, yep. So if let's say you were hoping to live with your high school bestie, and so you two go into the system and request each other, if one of you is in a living learning community and the other one is not in that same one, it won't let you choose each other. So the system is smart enough to know that. And then when you're searching, if you don't know who you want to live with, as you're searching, it's only going to show people that at that point in time have the same matching preference or same matching living requirements as you.
Fantastic. That makes that a lot easy. Last question for you, I swear right now.
Okay.
Just to kind of clear up extra communication, is the roommate form and preference form the same?
They are on the same page in my housing. So this, I did mention this is a new system to us. So you're watching me learn my language too, because some things look a little different, but we're excited about it. So all of it is contained in our roommate matching section. So everybody does the questionnaire first, no matter what. And then when they're going to pick a roommate, they're either specifically requesting that specific roommate that they already know, or they're going in and doing their searching. And if you are searching, we talked about being able to use that chat and stuff. You can keep coming in and out of my housing to continue that. So it doesn't have to be that you pick your roommate and the first day you go in to do roommate matching. So don't stress about that either. You can keep chatting, come back and forth. The system's very cool because when you come in, it will show exactly where you are in the housing preference process. So let's say you've already done some of your preferences, it'll have check, check, check. And then it will show you have not done this part yet. So it's going to just pick up exactly where you left off the last time you logged into the system.
Oh, that's super convenient. I very much so enjoy that. I have a quick question for Cheryl, two parts for you. One, they're interested in how they can connect with Kelsey, the dietitian.
Kelsey can be reached at dietitians@rhs.msu.edu. If you can't remember that, you can always contact info@edithstate as well, and we'll get you in touch with Kelsey.
Okay, and then in that same kind of topic, if I have an allergy or maybe I just don't like red peppers, is there a way for me to see what's in the food, pay attention to allergens? Do you have some sort of information with that? Like, how do I make sure that what I'm eating doesn't have what I don't like or can't have in it?
So we have what's called MS Nutrition, and it's a great tool, a website that you can go to, and you can filter for the things that you don't want in food, and it will show you what's available based on those filters. So it's something you can do for every meal. It's always available. And if you're still having a difficult time with that, our chefs are amazing and they will work with you at every dining hall. So please don't be shy about contacting them. They are happy to work with you.
Absolutely. I've seen that firsthand quite a bit, actually. I also think in the dining halls at the different stations with the serving, they have the menus posted with the logos and allergens printed on it,
Correct.
right? Is it
Yes.
do they cover the top 9, I believe?
Right. Yep.
Okay.
The top major 9. Yes.
Okay. And you did mention that students with food allergies can eat in more places than just Thrive, right?
Right. I would never want anyone to feel like they were, subjected to just one dining hall. We have Each dining hall has little variations, like some are nut friendly, we call them, so they don't use any nuts. But every single dining hall, every single dining location has the availability for students with all the major allergens to eat there.
Okay. That's fantastic. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. I am going to pop back over to Bethany here. I may have opened a can of worms when talking about living learning and special interest and all of that kind of stuff, but I do know that there's information about those and their roommate requirements and where they are available. Where can I find that information so I can see if I'm in a living learning community or have housing requirements?
Absolutely. So I did put this in the chat for those who are here with us live. So it is on our Live On website. We have it's called liveon.msu.edu/LLC-guide, but it is there. If you are watching the recording, please go to our Live On website and search LLC guide. It will be the first thing that will pop up. So this will give a lot of helpful information with those details about what the requirements are, where those locations are, and what the roommate rules are. And then for our special interest communities, all of our special interest communities are opt-in, so you should know that you should have actually applied for those, and you will get information directly from those communities about where you're living, the roommate rules, etc. So it shouldn't be a surprise. The ones that are kind of more all-encompassing is Honors College, is that where you'll opt into honors. If you're a music major, you will be living with other music majors unless you opt out. And then the last one is our core engineering program. So all engineering majors will be living in South neighborhood unless they opt out. And then our 3 residential colleges. It is a lot. It's a lot to remember. And so if in doubt, please email us. Please just email liveon@msu.edu and say, hi, do you show me in a community? And they will be able to look up your profile and they will be able to tell you if you are. So please don't stress. We're happy to answer all those questions.
Yes, and I do know that we have quite, as you can imagine, quite a bit of traffic coming into our housing assignments office right now, but I do promise that they are working through their emails as quickly as possible to be able to get back to you. Same with answering phone calls as they arise. So want to take a brief segue to students maybe not planning on living on campus. When can we sign up for the housing exemption for living on campus? What does that process look like? Can I just decide I'm not coming and live with a family member?
So we assume that all students are living on campus unless they do that housing exception. So if you are going to be requesting to live with a family member, please go ahead, go into My Housing. You do pay that one-time non-refundable $50 housing application fee. Again, that's good for your entire time at MSU. And then from there, you don't have to pay the advance payment or sign the housing contract. You can look for that housing exception link and go ahead and fill out that form. So pay the one-time fee that covers your entire time at MSU and then request that housing exception. If you're granted, we have it in our system and you won't get any more emails from us in housing unless you reach out to us.
The technical unsubscribe button, right?
Yes.
No, that's really good information. And I believe the housing exemption website lists out all those exemptions, what those possibly could be, so that way you know if you are eligible before you even start the process. So thank you for that. I'm going to pop back over to Cheryl for 2 questions here. First question is about changing meal plans. Can you change your meal plan at any point in time? Can it be before the semester starts? What does that change process look like and how flexible is it?
You can change the meal plan as long as you do it before the actual semester starts. So once move-in starts to happen, you can no longer change your meal plan because that's when the dining plans actually start. So once they start, you can't change. But right up until that date, you're able to change them.
So what if I start the year with a gold plan and then, I head home for winter break and I realize I didn't use any of my guest passes. I barely touched my Spartan Cash and I want to change. Do you allow changes mid-year or are you committed the entire year?
We do allow mid-year changes. Yep.
Okay.
So students just have to notify through My Housing that they want to do that.
Fantastic. Thank you. And then I have a bit of a fun question for you. Can you talk to us a little bit? You mentioned Sparties and how they work with the meal plan, but it looks like there are a couple different kinds of Sparties. Can you explain the differences between them and if, there's a benefit to one versus the other, any of that?
Yeah, we're actually in the process of refreshing our brand for Sparties. So you'll see that we have 3 different Sparties. So we have our regular Sparties, which is just the regular convenience store. It has everything that you could want. Each store is unique in its own way and the products that it might offer. But basically those are our standard. And then we have what we call Sparties Market. Sparties Market is carries all the same things that a Sparty's carries, but most of them will also have a grill and a chef oversight. So they carry chef-made food, hot, cold. They have just a little bit more. And additionally, they'll carry larger sizes, like more grocery type sizes as well. So they're just a little expanded. And then our third one is our Sparty's Express. And those are vending operations, basically. They're 24/7. Um, they're self-checkout, but it's vended. So those, you won't find too many of those. There's just a few of them around campus, and they are basically in academic buildings.
That makes sense. 24 hours studying, all of that kind of stuff. I get that. All right. Before I pop back over to Bethany, Cheryl, are there any other fun facts you want to share with the group or things that you are like about dining and want folks to experience? Any final thoughts before we head over to Bethany?
I can just tell you that I think that you will be impressed with the quality of food that you're going to receive. It's probably better quality than a lot of local restaurants that we have. And I say that because a lot of our chefs came from the local region at different restaurants. They're extremely well trained. They understand what the students want, and they try to introduce new foods that students may not have had before. And it's a fantastic dining program. We have been rated #1 in the state before. We're nationally ranked. I just, it's a passion of mine, and I can't say enough good stuff about it.
I would agree with you on that very much so. I have a kitchen. I go grocery shopping, but both my husband and I have meal plan options. So, because sometimes you just want to grab chimichurri flank steak and not have to do dishes, right? It's kind of nice.
That's right.
I appreciate that. All right. Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Thanks.
All right, Bethany, I am going to pop back over to you for a second. Back to just kind of briefly get back to the fee thing. It looks like we have a couple of questions about waivers and if that impacts the fee and what that kind of looks like.
Yes. So if a student, when they did their FAFSA, had a student aid index of 0 or under, because there are negatives, so 0 or under, they can request a fee waiver in My Housing. It's an option right at the beginning of the process. And once you get that confirmation that that's been approved, you do not pay the housing application fee or the advance payment. You get to go right to the housing contract. If you're unsure where you are in the process, first go to the Live On website, log back into My Housing. Again, the system should show you where you are. It should take you right to the step you were at. And if you're not sure, please reach out to our housing assignments office. They are happy to look up your account, walk you through. I'm taking us over to that slide now so everybody can see their contact info nice and easy. We're here to answer those questions. We're staffed all summer. We're definitely staffed this week, as we know this is the big week to make sure you've got those steps done. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Fantastic. Thank you. I did have a quick question that I'm hoping you can kind of clarify a little bit. It looks like we have some eager beavers in the chat here asking questions about second year and if they have to live on, if they can live in a sorority or a fraternity, and when they would need to do kind of that sign up process. Is that something that they hop into right when they get here? What does that look like?
Definitely not something we are pleased. This is one of my favorite things about when we reinstated our 2-year live on requirement is it took off the pressure of having to really think about your housing for next year right when you moved in, because the off-campus housing market and other extenuating circumstances made people really feel. My experience when I lived on campus was in September, you were already talking about where you were living next year. We really wanted to take that away. So how it works for our second year students is everything really kicks off in second semester. So whether you are going to request a housing exception, there's that same exception criteria. Maybe you meet that exception criteria you lived on for year 1 and don't want to for year 2. or there is the approved group housing process, which you'll hear a lot more. That really kicks off really in the winter, kind of between semesters. There are those options, but 70, I don't have the exact number, a high majority of our second year students live on campus. It is part of the requirement unless you meet an exception. And so we do that housing selection in the spring. We wait till we're a little further out of winter. We actually had pretty decent weather this year when we had our in-person housing event for second year students. So that takes place then. And really this is to alleviate that pressure. We want you to really be able to focus on your academics and your community building in your first semester and not have to stress about where to live. It's really worked well too. The housing market has really adapted. So our upper class students, they're the ones that are really starting to think about their housing for year 3 as they're coming into fall semester. And then spring semesters when you see our second year students, our rising second year students go ahead and do theirs. Did I answer that okay, Amanda?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It was a departure because when I was a student, it was basically panic, know who your best friend is by October because you have to sign a lease. And that's really nice that students don't have to do that. They can take time to explore, get to know roommates, look at options, and then they get those 2 years to really kind of know where their resources are and try all that dining hall food, all of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So quick reminder before we get to our last question. This whole presentation has been recorded and it's going to be posted to the Live On YouTube channel again in like next week or so. And if there are questions that come up ahead of that, we're directing folks to our housing assignments office. We're directing folks to our websites. Bethany, where can folks continue to get more information about move-in and upcoming things in the housing pipeline?
Yeah, we will not be shy. You will hear from us in many different ways. So our website's going to continuously be updated. We're going to have a lot of emails going out to students. We'll try to keep it to a reasonable cadence, but there will be updates throughout the summer. Like I said, our website's available. Social media will really start to focus on our incoming students over the summer. We will send home a couple mailers for any of our students in the US, but certainly we'll be sharing the same information online. We just offer it a couple different ways. So there'll be it's literally called the Living and Dining on Campus mailer that will come out later this summer. And then by early August, you should expect to receive your move-in guide. It's one of our favorite pieces to share with everybody. We'll share the latest and greatest of how move-in will work. But before that mailer comes, like I said, there'll be lots of emails, there'll be website resources. We have some videos. We already have a pretty detailed what's included in the room and what to bring webpage available if you want to search for that. And then in early August, date to be confirmed soon, we will be doing our move-in webinar. So just like this one, we hope you will be able to attend. We try to share a lot of information. We share all the high level, and then we'll do the Q&A and make sure we answer as many questions as possible. We already can see out on our roadways, it's going to be a construction season again around campus. But we have a great team that spends all summer preparing for move-in. That's going to make sure we give you specific directions on how to get to your hall. And as Amanda shared before, we're going to have that where you'll be able to select your specific move-in date and time. This year, each student will receive a specific prompt. It's going to be a process where we'll kind of be going by hall of which move-in times we're scheduling. So just look for those emails, and we're going to be excited. I love preparing for the next incoming class of students. We're excited to have you here. It'll be here before we know it.
I completely agree. Water bottle ready, neck fan charged and packed, ready to go. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Again, if any other questions pop up, please utilize the resources on the screen, reach out to your specific colleges, and I can guarantee that the majority of our questions can be answered using the MSU websites, whether it's Live On or through the colleges specifically. If you have a very specific question that has to do with a personal situation or a problem that you're running into on the website, please contact our Live On offices. Very quickly, they open at 8 a.m. tomorrow, and they will be able to receive emails and phone calls, and they can talk you through your personal situation at that time. So thank you again for joining us. Congrats on your admission. We hope to see you this fall, and go green.